In general, like what we mean by probability is that you are assigning a number to an uncertain event. If an event is which is not certain, has got a probability attached to it. And when we talk about uncertain terms, uncertain events, I mean there are various things we talk about here in probability. And the very first thing we talk about is what we call as the random experiment. Okay. So what we are meaning here is this is a random experiment. Okay. So in random experiment, what happens is that there will be more than one outcome. So anything which will be called a random experiment, which has got more than one outcome, the the outcome is not known prior. So basically, you can say that you cannot predict the outcome. So this is what makes it a random experiment, predict the outcome. Right. So here, what we are meaning quickly is that what is the outcome? I have been saying the outcome, right? So the result of the trial is what we call as the outcome. The result of the trial or experiment is what we call as the outcome. So if I'm outcome is a head or tail, if I'm throwing a die, the outcome is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, right? So this is how it goes. So this is what is the outcome. So then comes the name which is called event. So what is the meaning of event is? Event is uh, basically a collection of outcomes. I mean, in simple words, you can say that it's a collection of outcomes. So whenever we actually club the outcomes together in such a way, then we can call this as an event. Or you can also say that it is a subset of sample space. It's a subset of sample space. So let's talk about sample space as well. So what is a sample space? So these are some of the terms which you will be coming across. So we will note them down so that there is no confusion. So what is a set of all outcomes? All outcomes put together is what we'll be calling the sample space. Let's see, I'm writing space is space. This is actually sample space. Sample space is set of all outcomes. So if I'm talking about tossing a coin, then head and tail is my all outcomes. If I'm throwing a die, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a set of all outcomes. If I'm talking about a team which is playing, I mean, there are two teams which are playing together, and then the team, what is the result actually? So we can say that either the team can win or lose. That it can happen that the match could end up with a draw as well. So win, loss, draw would be the sample space. Like all these are the outcomes here. Okay. And now we can go back and say that what is an event is it's a basically a subset of it, or it's a collection of outcomes. So I could define my one of my event even as, now I'm talking about again event. So even could be defined as a, like if you throw a die, I say that I get an even number. So if I get an even number, it means that either I get a 2 or a 4 or a 6, right? So it just means that this is a collection of outcomes. So I'm saying that uh, getting an even number on a throw of a die. So even if I get a 2 or a 4 or a 6, I would say that this event has happened. So I would say an event has happened, meaning that uh, either 2 has come up or 4 or 6 has come, right? So there are three of the outcomes which are possible out of this. So this is one. The other thing which I can as well say that simply this. This is also like I can say that getting a one in a throw of a die. This is also one of my event. So if one comes, then I will say that event E2 has happened. Otherwise, event E2 has not happened. Okay. Event there are several things, and actually that's what you will be coming across. So I'll be talking a little bit more on that. So event would be like we are categorizing event by their number of terms actually. So the very first event is what we call as the sure event, or let's talk about an impossible event first, and we will call it a sure event as well. So impossible event. So say I throw a die and then say that I get a number 7. That is not gonna happen ever. That if I throw a die, It could be either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6, right? I could get any of these numbers, but find getting a 7 is not possible. So that's an impossible event. So that can never happen. Okay. So I mean, in this case, the event would be described as E3 would be described as 5 for empty set. So this is not gonna be possible. Sorry, not 7, but rather 5. Like throwing, I mean, tossing a coin and saying that I get a 1. This is like absurd. You cannot get a 1 if you're tossing a coin. You can either get a head or a tail. So it's an impossible event, and we will learn later that probability for an impossible event is actually zero. I mean, this is something like we don't say that it's a negative number, but someone say that, hey, what is the probability of getting a 10 if I throw a die? If you are throwing a single die, then you will never get a 10. So you will say that probability of that event happening is zero. I'm not sure about probability of getting a 1 or a 2 or a 3, but I can be 100% sure that you will never get a 10. So I will say that probability of getting this is zero. So that is what is an impossible event. Uh, Now coming to the next event, which is called sure event. So this is an event which will be, I mean, for sure it is going to happen. I mean, even so, a sure event would be like I'll say that if I throw a die, I get a number less than 7. If I throw a die, I get a number less than 7. So that is possible because I can either get a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 5 or a 6, right? So in this case, if I throw a die, I'm sure that whatever the number shows up, that will be less than 7. So that is a sure event. And probability of such an event is actually what we call is that this is actually also the sample space itself. So this will be a sample space itself. And probability of sample space is always actually going to be 1. Okay. An event just by the number of elements in it. So a simple event is a name given to an event which has got only one element. So an event which has got only one element is called a simple event. So one element is what we are writing. So if I'm throwing a die again, so I'm just taking the same kind of example. So I'm saying that getting a 5. I'm saying this is what is my event. I get a 5. Now the element here in this set is 1. So this is called a simple event. Okay. So only one element. So this is a simple event. Um, Now comes the next one, which is called compound event. So what is compound event? It's more than one element. When you got more than one element in the set, then you call this as a compound event, which is an example which I quoted earlier that if I throw a die, then I get an even number. So even number could be 2, 4, or 6, or I get an odd number. So 1, 3, 5. So these are called the compound event, right? Is actually 3. Number of element in this set is actually 3. So if it is more than 1, I'll be calling it a compound event. For example, E8, if I'm calling this, uh, like say if I throw two coins together and then what do I get is, say, I'm saying that either, I mean, at least one head I get. So head, tail, tail, head, or head, head. So this is again an event in which more than one element is there, right? So any of these happens, I will say that okay, at least one head has come, right? This event is described in such a way wherein I'm saying that at least one head should come if I'm throwing two coins together, or rather tossing two coins together, then I should get at least one head. So HT happens, then also we'll say that right, the first coin is showing a head, second coin is showing a tail, then we'll say that the no this event has happened, right? Shows tail and the second shows head, we'll say that it's event has happened, or head as well comes, we'll say that event has happened, meaning that any of this happens, we'll say that event has happened, and the compound event is what? I mean, just a name given, nothing serious about it. I mean, like it's just this is just an event which has got more than one element. Okay, just a name given to one type of event. So whenever you got more than one, so you're counting how many. Someone will be just giving you some what you call text. So people are saying you that, hey, if I throw a die, I should get a number less than 5. If they're saying that if I throw a die and I should get a number less than 5, meaning that what they're meaning here is that even if I get a 1, this event would have happened. If I get a 2, then also this event has happened. 3 or 4, in all such situation, the number shown on the die is actually less than 5. Here, what I'm counting is the number of possibility of such an event is like if this is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, so there are number of elements 4 here. So this is also called a compound event.